Mike, the computers say we're live.
So the computer's always right, Jake.
Computers are always right.
Yeah.
It's zeros and ones, and ooh, the counter's going. It's very exciting. Man, you got to help me out here. Like, energy is low. It's spring and it is raining.
Yeah. Well, remember how every transition period like this, in kind of an early spring, we have that 1 week and it's that head fake summer. And it's like, oh, we got to go plant stuff in the ground. And then it goes right back to cold, rainy stuff for a while. But I think we're coming out of it pretty quickly here. I think next week, are we going to be like 80 something degrees?
Yeah. Here, so here we are. So we were so it was full summer before, and it'll be full summer again, right?
It will. Mm-hmm.
How's your morning been so far?
In the office at 6. Thanks for asking, Jake. Hey, I can't believe. Yeah, I can't believe we're nearly through May, and that it's still raining. I guess it's better than a drought. In fact, here's a pro tip for Californians. If you move to Phoenix as part of the Great Remote Employee Redistribution, you're going to be incinerated. The drought forecast for the Southwest, especially Arizona, is not looking good. If you like water, I wouldn't go there.
I wouldn't think somebody who is an oceanographer in a previous life would know much about water in Arizona, Mike.
Okay, well, I did oceanography research at JPL to figure out how much CO2 the ocean takes up during phytoplankton photosynthesis, okay, from space. That gives me perfect authority to talk about that.
That gives you perfect authority to talk about water in Arizona?
Cool. About water in general. Water in general. Okay, this is already going off the rails. Speaking of water, did you see this? The warning that went out to the water sector about, there are tutorials online that show you how to use Shodan to look up water utilities, find an exposed system, and start fiddling around with it and trying to authenticate to it. If it's got no credentials, you're into what's called the HMI, the human machine interface. And wow, there was another piece talking about the ease of compromising operational technologies, specifically calling out water systems as well. So open source intelligence says water sector had better batten down the hatches. You're easy to find and easy to knock over.
No, I didn't see that. Ew.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good. But the good news is we do a lot of work in the water sector. So, we know a lot of folks who we can give a heads up to. Our consulting crew does a lot of assessments against the AWIA, which remind me is the American Water Infrastructure Act. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I got an acronym right. What kind of things are our folks finding?
You're so cyber. What do they find? We can't talk about that here. But I will be speaking at the next WASWOD conference. So that's the Washington Water and Sewer Districts. And I think I am going to anonymize some of that data and talk about what we see in the field.
Well, I'm really excited about that because it's going to be at the Great Wolf Lodge. And I know they're Great Wolf Lodge haters, but I love a good water slide. So it seems appropriate that a place with like a giant bucket that drops water on children is a place for a water conference.
Of course it is.
But all right, enough about water. What else happened this week worth discussing? There was more reporting on the cyber insurance industry.
Mm-hmm.
The sad state of it. Unpack that, man.
Okay. Surprising no one, all of the ransomwaring that's been going on has been hitting insurance companies really hard. And I think we talked last week about how rates are going up and self-insured retention is going up. So that's like a deductible, but it's not reimbursable. It's just you pay that out of pocket. Well, now the GAO is saying that Congress should establish some kind of effort to study historical cyber attack data. That would result in something like an actuarial table, right? And, we don't have 200 years of data like we do in figuring out how likely it is for a 16-year-old to wreck a car, right? So we're trying to do that now and get our act together and be able to really assess what risk is represented by the insured and what kind of attributes the low risk customers all share. Where that's likely to land is that meeting security requirements as defined by your insurance company is very likely to become the new normal. And that's not really a surprise because insurers really have a financial dog in the fight.
Congress but this is a little different because you know how many 16-year-olds on average get in crashes, but more 16-year-olds don't get in crashes because they are insured. We do think that the ransomware criminals are more aggressive because there's insurance.
That is true as well, but like I said, Congress is looking at providing federal reinsurance for cyber terrorist attacks. So the US government is starting to make moves where they're going to back up the insurance industry for these things. So even though, yes, their business model kind of inflames the whole, extortion business, there's this thing about terrorism. This has always been a little bit of an outlier, right? There's been this insurance provision around terrorism that says if your building gets blown up by a terrorist, that's not something insurance will cover, and the U.S. will, and that's called TRIP, the Terrorism Reinsurance Program. Like I said, that mainly concerns buildings that blow up or get knocked down. Now they're talking about using the same rationale for cyber terrorism. And the biggest takeaway for me is that we're starting to change the rhetoric away from crime and toward terrorism, because that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I read in the blast that the GAO says insurers limiting coverage in sectors that get hit a lot, like healthcare. I mean, that doesn't sound like it'll end well. I mean, the health sector's already on the financial ropes. I mean, the small hospitals anyway.
Yeah. Health, manufacturing, and finance sectors account for more than 60% of the cybering going on. So I fail to see, though, how insurers would limit coverage for the finance sector. The finance sector may start looking at the insurance company as a bad credit risk and smack them back.
Yeah,
no, that's probably not.
Yeah. So moving on, changing topics, making sure we talk about a lot of things, Mike. A lot of things.
Okay. All right.
We can't really get away anymore from the nation state activity because of the murky connections between criminals and governments. I mean, I read this week Iran is now doing nasty things.
Yeah. This is bad too. There's a hacking group in Iran. I can't remember the name. It's a funky name. Not unlike previous examples.
And by the way, if it is in Farsi, I don't want to hear you try to pronounce it either. So
no. It's like Agria or something like that. I can't really remember. But they masquerade as criminals, but their ransomware just destroys networks. You remember it was called Wiper malware? Well, it's back, and it's being used against Israel right now. And if I were Iran, I think I'd be careful, since we just saw buildings being hit with missiles because people in those buildings were hacking Israeli networks. There were a few articles pointing out the asymmetry there. And one more, while we're on this, one more international article that was kind of funny, not funny. It actually sounds like a Guinness record. The UK police have a national average of, not making this up, 299 data breaches per police station.
What?
Between 2016 and 2021. First 4 months of 2021. So most of that is human error. Okay. When you call a data breach, it's like, oh, well, I sent something to the wrong email address. Okay. That's technically that is a data breach. And I hate that language. But wow, you blokes better hire some consultants or something, because the optics there are pretty bad.
By the way, I like how you stoked the Israeli-Palestinian conflict fire in there and then moved on to the UK. And it's good. It's funny. I was just trying to explain to my daughter the Israeli-Palestinian conflict this morning. And my father I told my dad, and he's like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a hard one to explain. And by the way, you have 5 minutes. So.
Yeah. You got to go through kind of 2,000 years of history to get there, don't you?
It's a lot more than 2,000, Mike.
Okay.
Mike, you and I will spend 5 minutes talking about it too.
Okay.
All right. Anything more before we wrap?
Yeah. As predicted, cyber activists are becoming more numerous, and hacking for cause is going up really quickly. So remember Anonymous? Remember those guys?
Mm-hmm.
They are doxing the QAnon leaders, which I don't take issue with that at all. There's Verkada, Intrusion Truth, Unicorn Riot, Distributed Denial of Secrets. That's not even all of them. There's some good articles out this week on this, and I think one was in Reuters, as a matter of fact. These are all activists. They're all engaged in making embarrassing facts public about government agencies, especially law enforcement and corporations. Now they're getting scrutinized by the DOJ. So as we get closer to the midterm elections, I think this is going to get very animated. There is this sense of patriotism and disgust with the chicanery that goes on with our elections, and some embarrassing facts are going to be made public. So ES&S, if I were you, I'd cyber up right now.
Been pretty good at acronyms today. ES&S voting machine company?
The voting machine company.
Oh, got it. Okay. So, all right. This is it, Mike. This is the end. This is where you have a kicker.
Okay.
Wait! Before you give the kicker, Matt has a question in the chat here. He says, "Mike, what's your main news source for articles?"
So here's what I do. I have some filters set in Google News for search strings that I use that are for the health sector, the finance sector, government, military, privacy and surveillance. And I grab some of those, and I also go to, I get publications from the Washington State Fusion Center every morning. There's an intelligence analyst in Phoenix, works with the TSA, get stuff from him. And I'll go to the usual sources, Dark Reading, SC Media, the Register in the UK, which is a really great publication. Security Week. There's tons of them. And so it takes me about an hour to 90 minutes to, kind of put things together, given all of those, options. And I try to pull in stuff from, international relations magazines, think tanks, things like that as much as I can. And not so much the FUD types of articles. Anymore, I'm more concerned with policy than the incident of the day.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sense. And how much of it comes from National Enquirer?
Quite a bit, actually.
I mean, if you've seen Men in Black, that's the real news source.
Well, that's
how you tell who's an alien.
Yeah, if you go to the very last article in the blast every day, that's generally something that comes from the National Enquirer. That's where you find out about UK police stations with an average of 299 data breaches.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So the end of this is where we have the kicker. It's the story at the end that's supposed to put a smile on somebody's face. You usually fail at that. How you doing today?
Okay. Well, so this is all about Smile. Okay. So it's more of an announcement than a kicker. But if you use Amazon, and I think some people do, you can use smile.amazon.com. And it's the identical experience, but you can choose a charity to support, and a portion of your purchase will go to the designated organization. So Pisces, Public Infrastructure Security Cyber Education System, is now set up as a supportable nonprofit there. So please, everyone, go to smile.amazon.com, pick Pisces, and support free security monitoring for cities and counties by student analysts at 5 universities, and that's about to explode, and that's going to be a lot more universities.
That's not a kicker, but okay. But, do it because it helps Mike out and the do-gooderness in Mike, right?
It doesn't help Mike out. Mike's a volunteer. Mike wants to see the thing,
succeed.
Operate free of grant money. grant money is not something that anybody actually ever wants.
Yeah, pain in the tuchus.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, so I need your thought on something because it came up yesterday. All right. United Airlines. They have a new thing in their app and on their website where if you upload your vaccine card to United Airlines, you are entered to win 1 free year of travel. And privacy concerns around giving an airline your vaccine card. I have thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Well, so the information on a vaccine card is, not anything that's in excess of the kinds of records that have already been stolen, right? I mean, there's no piece of information on there that you can specifically use for fraud. If there was something, if we were worried about people knowing our vaccine status, okay, that might be a thing. But why do they want to house this information? And is this just for United Airlines passengers, or is this for anybody that wants to do it? Whether
anyone in there
with them?
Well, I mean, I think it's a marketing idea to get people to sign up for their mileage program and then let them know who's interested in traveling in the next year. I mean, I think that's probably the United Airlines side of it. But I mean, interesting question around housing the medical data. But, I was talking to because somebody said to me, there's no way I'm uploading that to United Airlines. And I was like, well, if United Airlines gets breached, they're already going to get
credit card,
my name, my date of birth, my passport information, my Nexus card information, my all the things that United already has.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing on the card that's in excess of that stuff they already have.
I mean, except that it says Pfizer and has a date and place where I got it. And just in case anybody's curious at the secret information, the answer is Rite Aid.
I like this story. Do you know what a regret lottery is?
No.
This is interesting. I forget what state this is going on, but they have this regret lottery. It may even be Ohio. Remember, because they said they had this lottery, right? And if they pick your name and you're fully vaccinated, you get $1 million.
Right. Yeah, Governor Mike DeWine. Yeah,
right.
This idea. Yeah.
And so part of that is if they pick your name, they're not picking names from everybody who's been vaccinated. They're picking names from all of their citizens. And if they pick your name and they call you up and you're not vaxxed, you could have had $1 million.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Tactically, that's kind of brilliant.
See, this is a much better kicker. Now this is it. All right. See, now everybody has something to talk about at the water cooler. Would there be a water cooler? Like, very exciting.
Water?
Back to sharing water. Whoa. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. This one a little crazy at the end, but I blame Mike. Have a great day, and and remember, if you haven't yet, please send Mike a note congratulating him on the award for CISO of the Century, and have a good day.
Bye, Jake.
Bye.